Prehab is usually worth it. If it's available to you and it fits your schedule, your budget, and your goals, it's one of the most effective ways to influence the part of recovery that you can control. Are you ready to get back to what you love after knee replacement? The Total Knee Success Podcast is your trusted guide with practical tips, evidence-based strategies, and no fluff. It's not personal medical advice, just solid education to help you manage pain, regain mobility, and get back to living the life you love. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Total Knee Success Podcast. I'm Michelle. Prehab before knee replacement is often judged by where someone ends up months after surgery, but that narrow view misses what preparation actually gives you along the way. Preparing your body before surgery is not about guaranteeing a perfect recovery. It is about building strength, learning how to train, developing confidence, and creating a sense of readiness at a time when many people feel uncertain. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what prehab improves, what it was never meant to control, and how to interpret your recovery without turning normal slowdowns into self-doubt. Let me share an example that captures a pattern many people experience. Imagine a woman who commits fully to prehab. She strengthens her legs, she practices stairs, she works on balance. She goes into surgery feeling prepared. The first 6 weeks after surgery go relatively smoothly. She regains motion steadily. She tolerates therapy well. Compared to what she expected, it feels manageable. Then around month 4, progress slows. The gains are smaller. Her knee feels heavier after longer days. Strength improves, but not in dramatic jumps. Her first thought is not, "This is a normal phase." It's, "Did I not prepare well enough?" If you're preparing for surgery right now, this is where I want to briefly mention something. Earlier, we talked about how preparation builds confidence and readiness. If you'd like a structured way to approach the weeks before surgery, with guidance on strength, mobility, expectations, and mindset, my upcoming book, The Knee Replacement Game Plan, walks through that process step by step. It's designed to complement the care you receive from your medical team and to help you enter surgery informed rather than overwhelmed. You can find information about it in the show notes. This is where expectations drift away from physiology. Prehab works with biology. Swelling resolves at a steady pace, and tissues adapt as they strengthen. Fatigue cycles are part of rebuilding. Connective tissue responds to progressive loading over time. Preparation does not rush the healing. It helps you enter it stronger and more capable from the start. Research supports this pattern. A 2022 systematic review and meta-analysis led by Granicher and colleagues examined 16 trials, including nearly 1,000 participants undergoing total knee arthroplasty. Prehabilitation improved knee function before surgery and through the first 3 months after surgery. By 6 to 12 months, outcomes between groups tended to converge. Now, convergence does not mean preparation lost value. It means everyone eventually enters the same longer-term rebuilding phase. Prehab raises the floor. You start stronger, you understand how to train, and you move into rehabilitation with more confidence. That higher starting point often makes the early phase smoother and less overwhelming, and early confidence supports stronger participation. When people feel capable early, they're more likely to stay engaged. They continue strength work. They build endurance progressively. They return to walking, hobbies, and community activities with greater consistency. So even if long-term outcome measures look similar on paper, the process has been shaped by preparation. As recovery transitions from early settling into longer-term rebuilding, the nature of progress changes. Early progress is often driven by decreased swelling, improved motion, and reactivating muscles that were already strengthened before surgery. Later progress depends more heavily on tissue tolerance, endurance, and sustained strength gains. Those adaptations occur gradually for everyone, regardless of how well they prepared. So what does prehab actually change? It raises your baseline strength. It improves neuromuscular readiness. It increases your tolerance for early activity. It helps you move in the first phase of rehab with more confidence and less apprehension. That early capacity can make the first several weeks feel smoother and more manageable. What it does not change is the reality that rebuilding capacity requires time and consistent progressive challenge. Large quality improvement research reinforces this principle. In 2023, Minnick and colleagues analyzed outcomes from more than 12,000 individuals following total knee arthroplasty after implementation of a structured rehabilitation care guideline. The program emphasized progressive loading, standardized outcome tracking, and steady advancement rather than reactive changes. The proportion of patients who failed to achieve meaningful improvement decreased after the guideline was implemented. The takeaway was not that intensity alone drives results. It was that consistent, appropriately progressed care supports better outcomes over time. Consistency is what carries you through the middle stretch. This is also where many people misinterpret plateaus. A plateau does not mean nothing is happening. It means changes are smaller and less dramatic. Strength gains may move from large early jumps to incremental increases. Endurance may expand steadily across weeks instead of days. Balance may feel steadier before it looks different in measurable tests. Confidence often improves before performance does. The 2025 longitudinal systematic review led by Orange and colleagues highlights this broader recovery trajectory. When cohort data are pooled across studies, most functional improvement occurs in the early months after surgery, followed by a slower phase of continued gains. Many individuals still report ongoing functional limitations even after pain decreases substantially. And that slower phase is not a sign that something went wrong. It reflects how musculoskeletal adaptation works. Returning to our example, month 4 isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's simply the next phase of recovery. When visible improvement slows, the question isn't whether you should push harder or pull back. The more useful question is how to stay engaged without turning this phase into a test of whether prehab worked. This stretch is less about dramatic gains and more about steady follow-through. It's where the habits you built before surgery, showing up, progressing gradually, tolerating discomfort without panic, start to pay off. The goal here isn't to recreate early momentum, it's to continue building capacity in a way that is sustainable. If you compare this phase to the early weeks after surgery, it can feel a little discouraging, but that comparison is misleading. The early phase is fueled by resolution of inflammation and restoration of motion. The middle phase is fueled by tissue adaptation. Those are different processes. Education also plays a central role here. Research examining physical therapist priorities for people with knee osteoarthritis shows that clinicians consistently rank exercise education and dispelling misconceptions as top priorities. Understanding what exercise does and does not do shapes how people engage with it. When you understand that progressive loading strengthens tissue rather than wearing it down, you're more likely to stay engaged during the slower phases. After knee replacement, the worry usually shifts from cartilage to the implant. People might wonder if exercise could loosen it. The rehabilitation guidance for knee replacement still centers on progressive strengthening and walking because restoring strength and function requires graded load. The key is that the load is dosed and progressed appropriately, with your surgeon and physical therapist guiding the timeline back to higher demand activities. After surgery, this perspective becomes especially important. Normal muscle fatigue, stiffness after activity, or temporary soreness are part of the rebuilding capacity, not signs that you are undoing your surgery. Understanding that helps you stay engaged in the strengthening work that supports your recovery. Recovery is also shaped by context. A recent scoping review examining short-term outcomes after hip and knee arthroplasty found that factors such as income level, employment status, and social context were associated with differences in early functional recovery. Those findings don't mean outcomes are predetermined. They highlight that people enter surgery with different resources, supports, and stressors, all of which can influence how recovery unfolds. Preparation is powerful, but it exists within a broader life context. All of this leads to a practical conclusion. Prehab is usually worth it. If it's available to you and it fits your schedule, your budget, and your goals, it's one of the most effective ways to influence the part of recovery that you can control. It helps you enter surgery stronger. It helps you understand how to exercise safely. It reduces the shock of the early weeks, and it builds confidence before you ever step into the operating room. I guess you're not really stepping into the operating room. What it cannot do is remove the normal phases of rebuilding, but it can make you better prepared to move through them. So here's the usable takeaway. If you're preparing for surgery, focus on building strength in your hips and legs, improving your walking tolerance, and practicing the exercises you will use afterward. Learn what progressive loading feels like. Get comfortable with gradual increases. Ask questions. Build the habit of showing up. If you've already had surgery and you did prehab, trust that it helped. You are not behind because progress feels slower now. You're simply in the strengthening phase. And if you did not do prehab, this is not a lost opportunity. You can begin building the same strength and confidence today. The principles are the same before and after surgery: progressive load, consistency, and patience. Of course, doing this in conjunction with your physical therapist. Preparation improves your starting point. Ongoing training builds your long-term capacity. When both are in place, recovery is more stable, more confident, and more sustainable. This is why prehab is worth considering, not because it guarantees perfection, but because it gives you a stronger foundation to build on. If you'd like to check out the knee replacement game plan, go to the show notes for more information. In the next episode, we're going to shift the focus from preparation to performance. We'll talk about what actually defines a successful recovery after knee replacement, beyond range of motion numbers and timelines, and how to measure progress in ways that reflect strength, function, and real-life activity. If you've ever wondered whether you're truly on track, that conversation will give you a clearer framework for evaluating your recovery. For today, remember this: prehab did not fail you. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It helped you start stronger. Now you're doing the different work that comes next, and that work requires steady progression and patience. Thanks for joining me. I'm Michelle, and this has been the Total Knee Success Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Discover more at totalkneesuccess.com, and be sure to subscribe and share, because every step forward takes you closer to living the life you love.